6:17 left in the game.
You do that real well.
Thank you.
We go to the fourth. Let's enjoy hearing from Paul Carey.
Ernie, thank you.
When he's all through, Paul Carey may be remembered unfairly as Ernie Harwell's sidekick, because here is a man who is respected for far more than playing second fiddle to Ernie.
I like Paul very much. I think Paul probably is the most underrated play-by-play man in the city of Detroit.
Paul Carey has one of the greatest voices you will ever hear anywhere. I don't even know if he knows what a great voice he has.
Out of this ballpark. There's a bouncer back to the glove of Swift. He knocks it down, picks it up, throws him out.
Like George Blaha of the Pistons, Paul Carey considers just getting the Tiger job his greatest thrill. Paul stepped into this booth 16 years ago, and it is still very much a labor of love and the fulfillment of a lifetime dream.
The opportunity came to even audition for the job. I thought that was remarkable, because I always thought a Tiger announcer's job was like that of a Supreme Court justice. Someone had to die for an opening to occur.
Brookins looking around, trying to get a lead down there. Canona's squeezing.
And Paul Carey still calls every game with the enthusiasm he provided in 1973. That's more than 2,500 games, folks. But actually, it's many more when you consider the imaginary games he broadcast as a youngster in Mount Pleasant.
Had games that with spinners, with dice, and I had a bicycle horn that I had hanging from a string from the ceiling, so it was like a boom mic.
Pitch from Terrell. Ground balls, gloved by Evans. He'll make the play unassisted.
Well, he's the most loyal and the most dedicated guy I've ever worked with, and I'm very lucky to have him with me.
There's a drive toward right center field. On the run is left.
When the broadcast is over, Paul Carey's day is forgotten. He doesn't even listen to tapes of his own booming voice.
We were told that when we got into the business, to listen to tapes. You can improve yourself. And I probably could have improved myself. I'm embarrassed by listening to myself.
He needn't be.
There's a fly ball toward the right field corner.
Fred Heumann, Channel 2 Eyewitness Sports.
A little chopper hit past the mound slowly towards second. Reynolds flips it over to first while the ball gets by Davis. Here comes Noakes rounding third. He scores. On to second goes Bergman of the Tigers.
I think Woody Allen once said that 90% of genius is showing up, and I'm not a genius, but I have showed up for a lot of games.
That's vintage Ernie Harwell, downplaying the highly significant role he's played in the lives of millions of Tiger fans for the last 29 years.
Most pitchers would prefer a scuffed ball.
Why have you remained in this town so long?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just fooling them that long. I can't think of any other reason.
Thanks, Paul.
He talks as though he doesn't even know the legend of Ernie Harwell, but in truth, the very craft that others are trying to refine, Ernie developed.
Outside the fastball from Swift.
Ernie is friendly. He's your next-door neighbor. So I think that any young broadcaster really should listen to Ernie and say that's the way it's done.
And the Ernie Harwell that you hear, that you see, is the Ernie Harwell. He's not on. That's him all the time.
If you weren't a baseball broadcaster, what would you be doing?
Well, I think I'd like to be a songwriter. You know, I dabble in the song lyrics as sort of an avocation. I haven't given up my day job yet.
Move over, babe. Here comes Henry.
He wrote that song, and music is his next love. But this game for all America, as he calls it, is what's kept him in tune for 41 years.
I love to come to the ballpark, be around the people, and then enjoy the games. And it's just a blessing to me that I've got a job I enjoy so much.
In 1981, Ernie Harwell got his ultimate reward, election into baseball's Hall of Fame.
Strike out. He stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched that one go by.
Most of all, I'm a part of you people out there who've listened to me.
2 out, nobody on. Game
Fred Heumann, Channel 2 Eyewitness Sports. To the Detroit sports fan, broadcast stability is taken for granted. In an industry where many of the play-by-play announcers go from town to town, Detroit's play-by-play men have stayed here for much more than a cup of coffee. Our 4 voices in the crowd have logged 93 years of service to their trade.
I think it's a compliment to the organizations, to the stations, and to a very rabid sports audience in Detroit.
I always wanted to be the voice of a professional sports team in a blue-collar town where sports was an escape a way out for people after a tough day at the plant.
And because Bruce Martin, George Blaha, Paul Carey, and Ernie Harwell have served one town and one team for so long, they tend to give a home-sided account of their broadcasts.
It's a simple case for sure. I want the Red Wings to win. 2 or 3 reasons. First, I love the team. Secondly, it makes a much better broadcast and brings people back. And of course, our ratings have gone up considerably with the last couple of seasons when the Red Wings have played so well. So, yeah, I'm a homer.
I enjoy hearing announcers who root for the home team. That's fine. But I don't think it's my role. I think I'm there to report the game first and foremost. And I think most people tune in to hear the Tiger game and not Ernie Harwell or Paul Carey.
I figure that 90%, 95% of the audience listening to us is pro-Detroit Tigers. And if we tend to get a little more excited about something that favors the Tigers, it's because it is expected on a Tiger broadcast.
Their voices in the crowd, and they're coming through loud and clear.
Here's a pitch. He takes strike. God, he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched that one go by.
The pitch from Terrell. Ground balls, gloved by Evans. He'll make the play unassisted.
Gretzky drives another one. He scores!
Horn back in the game for Bill Lambier. Ricky, right the lane for the force. He fills it from 50!
Fred Heumann, Channel 2 Eyewitness Sports.
Bob Probert grew up across the Detroit River.